It's fun. I still enjoy doing it, and I think it made me a better activist. Well, I'm from California, and California is one of 24 states in the country that allows citizens to bring an initiative to the ballot for a vote. Late last year, a number of organizations, including Farm Sanctuary and HSUS, were pushing a measure called the Prevention of Farm Animal Cruelty Act. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. Well, in order to qualify for the ballot, they needed to get a certain amount of signatures, I think it was about 450,000, from registered voters in the state, and they needed volunteers to collect signatures. Well, being a shy person, of course, I raised my hand and found myself in front of the co-op and Whole Foods or wherever asking for signatures. It was way, way out of my comfort zone, but I did it, and I'm not going to say it was that easy, but I think it made me a better activist. I also think it's important that we notice what the opposition is doing. By the opposition, I mean animal agribusiness, the fur industry, vivisectors, circuses, zoos, rodeos, in short, any enterprise that makes a profit by exploiting animals. Learn about what they're doing. And again, with the advent of the internet, this is very easy to do online. Most of these companies and trade organizations have websites, and almost all of them post their newsletters or other news items on those websites. You can read about what they've got planned. This is also a great way to find out what they're saying about the animal rights movement. Because believe me, they're reading our literature. And this way we can be proactive instead of reactive. I also think it's important that we not make veganism/animal rights look unappealing. So go to potlucks, go to company lunches, go to the big family gatherings where you know meat's going to be served, bring your vegan entree, bring the recipe, especially if it's a dessert, because you know that anybody who tries your cookies or cupcakes or brownies or cake or whatever is going to want to know how you made that without eggs or dairy. You don't want to be the person that other people look to and say, well, I don't want to be vegan. Mark never has any fun. He never goes out, never does anything. This can also be an opportunity for a little activism. I was at a business luncheon in Ohio, and I was at a table with 6 or 7 people at a hotel, and the waitstaff came out with lunch, which was a dead chicken for everybody, except for me. I got the vegan house specialty, which was grilled vegetables. Getting a little tired of that. And it's amazing how proud they are, you know, when the hotel comes out. You like red peppers, don't you? Yeah, usually not 14, but yeah. Well, of course, everybody at my table looked at me, and a couple wondered, why aren't you eating chicken? Well, this gave me an opportunity to gently explain how that meat chicken was raised and why I don't eat animals.
While they're eating it, you did that?
That's why I said gently. Yeah, typically, a table full of meat eaters, especially with a corpse in front of them, is not your best opportunity for activism. However, when somebody asks me a direct question about why I'm not eating animals or why I'm an activist, I give them a direct answer. And I always make it about the animals. It might be easy to say, oh, it's for the environment, or it's for my health, or personal reasons. And those may be true. But if I don't bring animals into the equation, the person that I'm speaking with might not make that connection. Remember, we're trying to help people connect the dots. show them how their choices directly impact the suffering of animals. Another aspect of making veganism look good is by staying healthy. Now, I love cupcakes as much as the next guy. Maybe a little more than the next guy. But vegan is not necessarily synonymous with nutritious. So try to eat well, get your B12, get your omega-3s. In fact, I highly recommend a website called veganhealth.org. It's maintained by Jack Norris. He's the co-founder of Vegan Outreach, and he's a registered dietitian. And Jack does more than anybody I know to stay on top of health issues, especially as they impact vegans. Because believe it or not, there are people out there who think being vegan is unhealthy. I was out running and somebody saw the rabbit tattoo on my arm. And I explained it represents animal rights and I'm a vegan, and his jaw dropped. He said, "Vegan, but you look so healthy." He couldn't imagine. I'd also like to recommend that we learn from the veterans. I'll bet everybody in this room has at least one activist that you admire. Whether you've read his or her book, or you've just followed their career, you heard him speak at a conference today maybe. Continue to go to these conferences. Continue to read those books. Listen to their interviews on the radio. Read their interviews in print. Get a feel for how they talk to the public about animal issues. Because I think you'll see that it raises your own level of confidence. And if I might suggest, don't just read the books or listen to the interviews, bless you, of people that you admire, but maybe an activist that you disagree with. And there are a number of them that I disagree with, but I still read their books because I admire how they present their argument. Maybe I philosophically disagree on a few things, but I still respect how they talk about the issue. Okay. Now I'd like to conclude by addressing a psychic demon known as burnout. If you've been involved in the animal rights movement long enough, you've encountered some form of emotional pushback. It could be grief, despair, anxiety, frustration, guilt. You take just a couple of these and you mix them with, say, half a cup of pushing yourself too hard, and you've got a great recipe for burnout. Well, I have a little recipe of my own. It's called the active approach for avoiding burnout. I call it the active approach because it is a 6-step process, and each letter in the word active stands for one of the steps.